And that's what I wanted it to do anyway. And starting in another video, this it's going to be 2 parts, I guess. Maybe 3, maybe 4, who knows. When it ends, it ends. So anyway, once I got the axle put on there, then of course I had to make a hitch for it because it doesn't have the enclosed drive shaft hitch tube thing. So I came up with this truss style design that I kind of made up myself, which it's strong enough for what it's for. I won't say it's like heavy duty or anything like that. This is 1/4 inch square tubing used for the main, so it's a heavy duty thing. Unfortunately, when I was welding it, I got it slightly tweaked. So I was by myself, and I'm trying to hold this thing and weld it all at the same time. And I'm on a dirt floor in that carport where I was building it, because actually what I used to lift it up, I have a chain hoist that goes from one of the ceiling joist, whatever you want to call it, the structure. I have a chain wrapped around there with the chain hoist to lift up. I have this whole trailer lifted up on that chain hoist, which it shows you how there's a pretty tough frame on that carport. Anyway, so built this hitch for it, and originally I just had the single beam. Then I started thinking, well, we need to make some reinforcements for it so it doesn't get tweaked left or right. So I just took this 2-inch channel iron and welded it on to the end of it, and then just kind of, it's light duty, like I said. I welded it on the side here, and I couldn't really get into the top or the bottom, so it was good enough. Anyway, I got another one of these roller jack wheels here. Of course, put safety chains on the trailer, and then I got this another receiver hitch, and I welded it on there, which, if that's the right way to do it, I don't know, but that's how the other one was, so I just kind of did the same. Plus I figured I'm never going to take it off, it's just going to stay on there. And of course got a pin through it and everything, and got the proper ball. Well, later after I built this thing, I started thinking to myself, well, what if I have a mower that dies or something, or I need to pull something onto the trailer and I can't? So I came up with this. This is a lot of you guys know what this is. This is a boat winch. And I made this, well, seriously overbuilt mechanism here. I think this is 1/8 inch, I believe. And I triangulated it here. I angled it back so when the mower or whatever's on here, it's not right up against it. Did some forethought. That's actually when I found out that this wasn't straight. I'm like, oh shoot, it's actually crooked when I welded it together, but it is what it is. It doesn't affect anything, at least not from what I've used it for. And I've pulled this thing around quite a bit actually, and it seems to do pretty good. But one thing this trailer does need, I need to fix that spare tire thing. This originally didn't have a spare tire on it. What I took it's a GM wheel bearing, which some of you guys know they go bad quite often on like your Pontiac Grand Prix, Chevy Impalas, Oldsmobiles, you know, that era, 90s to 2000s GM stuff, and shoot, some mid 2000s stuff did too. They had a lot of wheel bearing issues. The bolt pattern is super close, so I just made it work, and I just used the lug nuts and actually welded a piece of pipe to the back side of the wheel bearing here. I'll give you a little close up here. Just a piece of pipe in here, welded it to the inside of the wheel bearing. I didn't care if this got smoked, it's not supposed to turn anyway. I put a piece of angle iron, or a piece of channel iron on the back side of it. I was hoping it would butt it up, and then ran some bolts through this. Well, I didn't think it would bang around this much. It would actually tweaked it. Well, one day, if you look on the back side of my yard, all that back there is pasture ground, and of course there's some farm ground up there, but the people that rent this ground sublet it to another guy. Well, he has cattle and he had bulls. Well, they got out, and I had the trailer parked over in that clearing over here. Yeah, no, over here. I had the trailer parked over here. Well, the bulls had gotten into the yard, and actually, ironically, shoot, that was a week ago today when that happened. They got into the yard, and they were rubbing up against this trailer, and that's when this got bent. It wasn't like that until that happened. So I was like, oh geez, great. But I didn't really care. I said, it was a cheapy trailer. The other thing is, this trailer was originally wasn't a licensed trailer. It was just one of those farm trailers. You pulled it around, and just is what it was. And so I decided I'm going to license this thing and actually use it on the road. So I got a VIN tag for the side of the trailer. You know, in Nebraska, where I'm from, you're allowed to register a trailer, and I kind of laugh at how simple it is to do, really. Because I just told them it's a homemade trailer. I said it's got a 3,000-pound axle on it, and they said, well, what color it is? I told them rust colored, and they said, well, that's not a color. Well, what color do you think it should be? I said, we'll call it red because the stock rack part, I guess it's red. So ended up calling it a red trailer, which I kind of laughed about because it's not painted, it's just rusty. So I don't care, it's just it's a mower trailer. Anyway, the trailer didn't have lights on it or anything like that, so I wired up these LED lights, and they're a cheapy eBay thing. Well, unfortunately, I didn't think about it when I bought it, and well, these came, they had a amber colored, which I thought was a good idea. I'm like, oh, they're amber colored, or yellow or orange, or whatever colored, and I figured, oh, I mean that nice, so you could tell the difference between the brake lights and the turn signals. Well, having a brain fart, I was just like, I go to wire it up, and it has a 5-wire plug-in. I'm like, there's 5, what is going on here? I'm looking at it, and then it's like, oh, it's some Chinese thing that they have for some, other trailer. I suppose it's made for like a back of like a box truck or something. That's what these are actually made for, because they're LEDs. And I was just looking for cheap. I wasn't going to spend a lot of money on this trailer. Anyway, they make red taillight tint, which I did not know they made. I know they made black because I've tinted my taillights on a few vehicles. I had a Cavalier, and then I did it on my Challenger too to make them look kind of neater. I did like a outline of, in case my Challenger says RT on it. It's in the driveway there. It says RT on the taillights. I'll show you that here in a second. But I did that. Anyway, they make red, and well, I had to cover up the amber because I couldn't separate the turn signal and the brake light from each other. Or I didn't know how to, at least not easily. So I'm like, shoot. So I just took the wires together and make it work like it would on a regular car where it only has, you got your typical 4 wires: ground wire, left turn signal, right turn signal, and running lights, which turn signals are tied into your brake lights. Anyway, so this one, was wired different. It had 5 wires, one extra one for your turn signal since it was amber colored. So anyway, figured that out, and it was a little bit of rinky-dink wiring, but I got to work, and I mounted them into the fenders, and of course ran the wiring into the trailer, or ran the wiring into a 4-wire trailer plug-in like you normally would on any other vehicle. It does have the option of having a license plate light underneath there, but I just said heck with it. I'm not going to wire that up because I would have to run a separate wire for that, and I could tie it into the taillights, but I just said hell with it because it was an extra wire, and I just didn't feel like messing with it. The other bad thing is when we got a hailstorm out here, it broke one of those taillights, so I had to go do that tinting thing all over again, walking into the sun right now. So anyway, I was going to show you real quick of this taillight tint I did on my Challenger. It's a little dirty, so I apologize, but maybe you can see it up close. I don't know if it'll pick it up or not. You can kind of see it says the R and then the slash, and the T is kind of hard to see, but it's there. If it'll pick it up or not. Yeah, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. It was a neat idea in my head. I should have went a little darker with the tint, but I didn't want the taillights to be super dark. So, all right, on to the next thing. I want to show you my Ranger pickup. It's going to be a brief overlook of the truck. I'm not going to go in depth because it's parked in the shed and it is dirty. So I apologize. It's normally a clean truck. It's got bird crap and stuff on it. So it's normally a clean truck, but this is where it sits most of the time because it's not a daily driver. Here's the 1988 Ford Ranger I have, and it's known as the Little Bohemian. And the reason I call it the Little Bohemian is because my brother and his wife have pulling trucks that are painted in the same paint scheme, and I had built this truck after they had gotten both the trucks up and going, and I decided I was going to give this one a go. And I said I'm going to paint the same colors they did. This is kind of an electric lime green, I guess you would call it. It's kind of an odd color. I had to actually get it custom mixed because the paint place that my place of work and my boss who does the body work, he uses a different paint supplier than what my brother did when he had the guy that painted his do. He went through Red Shaw Paint Supply, and we went through it was originally called Auto Body Supply. Now it's called Colors with a U. Yeah, like it's European, or I don't know. For some reason they spell it with a U, and we're in the U.S., so not sure what that's all about. But anyway, they got bought out and they changed it. But anyway, they use Pittsburgh or PPG paint, and mine's like the basic like shop line stuff, which is kind of your entry level. This is single stage paint. So this is not quite tractor enamel, but it is, you know, in that along the same line. So, and yeah, here's some of my stuff I watch on YouTube. Some of you guys, Vice Grip Garage, Hot Rod Garage. Was faster with Finnegan. Now it's faster with Cotton and Newbern. This is from when I went to recently. Went to Topeka, Kansas for their supposed last NHRA event that they're having at that track, or I think ever. They're talking about shutting the track down. And of course, on the other side there, I got my Roadkill sticker and 88's badge. That's from a little shout out to Mighty Car Mods. That's where that's what that's from. They went to a place in Japan. They met a group of car enthusiasts that had a car club called the 88s. And since I was born in 88, this truck's 1988. Last year of this body style, in case some of you are wondering. This is, to me, I call it a first gen because it was from 83 to 88. The body style was unchanged. It was basically the same truck. A couple engine stuff changed and things like that of that nature. I don't know the little details, but it is what it is. But anyway, we're kind of keeping this simple. Anyway, so onto the truck a little bit more. Here's your, for those of you wondering, that says Little Bohemian. It might be backwards, but like I said, and of course it's a Ranger. Those are original badges. Those are actually very hard to find. They don't make reproductions, at least not that I could ever find. The only ones I could find were used ones, and that's what I had to get because a lot of these get broken. This R tends to get broken on the end of them, or it's just the way they're made. They are plastic, they're not metal, so they do crack. Another thing I like to kind of, I don't know, I always thought this was kind of a neat look for the truck. Some people don't like it. It has what they call the stink bug look, or as I like to refer to it as the 70s and 80s truck or muscle car look. It's got the smaller tires on the front. Got your lower profile. These are 15 by 6-inch wide rims. These are actually a GM rally wheel. They're not an OEM wheel. They're Repop Speedway Motors makes them. They're a 10 lug, so it means it can do both Chevy and Ford, or Chevy and small Ford, or small Chevy and small Ford bolt pattern. So I believe it's 5 on 4 1/4 GM and then 5 on 4 1/2 Ford, I believe. The center caps here, these are actually custom. I made these, which I didn't make them from scratch. They're off of a Jeep Cherokee. They actually, ironically, since it's a 10 lug wheel, the other 5, you can put the screws through the back side of it. They screw on from the back. That's how they do it on the Jeeps too. And I was able to actually put some screws through the back of it and hold the hubcaps on. Well, on the original Jeep wheels, it actually says Jeep. Well, I found some Fords off like a Crown Vic. They make like you can put these logos on there. Unfortunately, they kind of yellowed, which that kind of sucks. And if you look real close, you can see there's 8 balls on the lug nuts. Just a little custom touch I decided to do to it. Like I said, the truck's kind of dirty. I apologize for that. And here's something that I always thought was real neat on this truck. These are not factory. They did not come. No Rangers ever had round headlights. I used to have a Ranger in high school, and I got this wild hair one day because I always thought they kind of had like a 70s kind of look to them, which I thought they did anyway. So I went ahead and I found some round headlights and shoved it in there, and they actually fit. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. And I just made it work that way. I just always thought it was cool, and it was a custom touch. That was back 2006. Well, now people are actually starting to do this on their trucks to make them look retro. And I was just like, I did this like before anybody even thought about trying that. And of course I did it again just out of nostalgia on this truck. I thought it was neat. These are actually LEDs, so they're way brighter than the old halogens I had in there. No, they're extremely bright headlights. The only bad thing is they are kind of hard to aim, so you get flash sometimes, which, sorry guys, I'm not doing it on purpose. It's just the way the headlights are made. They're cheapy Chinese ones, so they're not anything super high quality. This truck is a budget build. For those of you wondering how many thousands of dollars did the truck cost to build, well, realistically, I paid $400 for this truck, or $450, I forget. I think $400, $450, somewhere around there. Did not run. The engine was bad. It had a 2-liter 4-cylinder in it, and it didn't run, so unfortunately couldn't do much with it. But I wanted the truck because it was extremely clean. The main reason I bought this truck, these trucks had a known issue with the beds. See how straight this bed is? Yes, it does have a bed liner sprayed into it, but underneath that bed was basically unmolested, not touched. It had a couple of small dents in it, but super clean. Like, these are single walled. Hey, there we go. My light kicked on my shed. These are single walled fender wells, so they take a beating, and not in a good way. Like, they show everything. We'll just put it that way. And this is I call it, it's a show truck, meaning I don't drive it every day. Above me, you'll see that little chain hoist I was talking about that I used to lift up my trailer when I was putting the axle underneath it. Anyway, yeah, like I said, the bed's very clean. Unfortunately, due to the nature of the shed I'm in, yes, it does have electricity into it. I ran it's basically an extension cord that goes up to some Romex wiring up to a light. It's, I don't know, just simple. The main reason I did that is so if I ever move, I can take the shed with me and I can just unplug the light, and it's not all hardwired into stuff. It's actually plugged into the outlet on the side of the on the side of the wood shed, which that unfortunately will stay here if and when I leave. Anyway, back to the truck. The 4-liter was junk. Ended up putting a 2.3. I had a 2.3 out of my 83 Ranger that still ran. I had unfortunately had wrecked that truck hitting a deer on the interstate. So that the truck was toast. The whole front end was jacked up on it. It tweaked the frame, and the fan went through the radiator, broke off the alternator bracket, snapped off the distributor cap. I was doing about 65 when I hit the deer. Speed limit back then was 75, so that was back in 2009, I believe. Anyway, so that truck unfortunately was toast, which is what led me to buy this. Truck. This truck, however, did come. It originally had a slider window in it. It had tint on it. Well, the guy he did like me, put all the stickers and stuff on it. Well, he peeled all the stickers off, and if anybody knows anything about tint, what happens over time, it starts to turn color. Well, it turned purple on the back of the tint on the window, and then he had it was a Nebraska logo, so a big N. He scraped it off. Well, the one part where the N was, it was, I don't know, it was either darker than the rest of it or lighter than the rest of it, and it just looked bad. Plus, it looked purple. And I just thought it looked bad. So anyway, along with since we're on that subject, along with the back window, this tailgate is off of a 91 Ford Ranger pickup, which they are the same. They use a lot of the same parts in the second gen, so a lot of people like to lump them together. They're not exactly the same. Yes, the frame's the same, the wheels and tires, that kind of stuff's the same, but the interior of the truck's completely different. There's a lot of things that aren't the same on them. That's why I personally don't think they're considered the same truck. So anyway, back to this one. And plus, they didn't have carbureted stuff in those years either. This was the last year for carbureted. This truck was actually 1988. This still had a carbureted 2-liter engine in it, which was factory to this truck. So all of you those debating, oh no, they already had fuel injection. They did have fuel injection on the 2.3s. Which this truck has a 2.3 in it. It's not fuel injected. It's a carbureted engine because it's out of an 83 Ranger, which is, well, actually it's out of an 83 Mustang. That's currently what's in there now. It's an 83 Ford Mustang motor, which came out of a Lotus 7 kit car, which is actually kind of a neat story on its own, which I didn't own the car or anything. The guy I bought it from, I lived in Lincoln, Nebraska. I drove there, went and picked it up. $150 I paid for the motor. Didn't get the exhaust manifold, didn't get a distributor. It was just basically a basic motor. I had to transfer all the parts off my old motor, unfortunately. The original motor that I pulled out of my Ranger was a Frankenstein motor. Me and my dad had basically just taken all the good parts out of multiple motors I've killed over the years and made one good motor out of it, or one better motor out of them, we'll call it. I wouldn't say good because it was, I don't know. Anyway, Frankenstein all of it together and made a running engine out of it, which is an impressive feat on its own because it had junkyard pistons in it. I had a junkyard crank. It had the cam was in the head. It had an 83 Ford Ranger cam, 80-some Ford Mustang block, and I forget 79 Mercury Bobcat crankshaft in it. I mean, and then none of this stuff was new. This is all taken out of other motors that broke in various different ways. The 83 Ranger, that one ran out of oil because it was burning oil real bad. And being a high school kid, I wasn't checking the oil enough, and it burned it up and melted two of the pistons. So that motor, we stuck it, I don't know, on the back. You know, my dad just threw it in the backyard underneath the tree and put a tarp over it, for lack of a better term. And then we got that Mercury Bobcat, and we stuck that motor in here, which is actually where we got the intake and the carburetor off of. I wish I could show you more, but it's, like I said, if you watch that other video when I'm talking about my Ranger, there's a bunch of photos in there, and you'll kind of get the idea. This, it doesn't look any different. It's probably just dirtier now because I haven't washed it since the car show that was in August. The end of August is the last time this truck has been driven. So I don't, I probably drive this truck maybe 2 weeks out of the year. I don't know, that's why, you know, it's like, why do you even own it if you don't drive it that much? It's just, I live on gravel. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's not a good truck for out here. Same goes for my Challenger, which I drive quite a bit more now, mainly because, I don't know, I'm getting kind of becoming a wimp, and I like air conditioning, so that's nice. This truck does not have air conditioning. This truck is very hot to drive in. It's got black interior, so you can about imagine, and it's of, I don't know what, I want to say I don't think it's vinyl, but it's like that composite material. It's not leather, it's not vinyl, it's kind of in between the two. Pleather, I don't know what it is. But I recovered the seats in it, and it looks really nice. I mean, I'll show you a picture through the window. It's locked, but like I said, the interior looks really nice in this truck, as you can see. Well, you can see a lot of glare off the window, but it's pretty nice. And now there's that, if you can maybe see a better picture. I don't know if you can see it through the back window or not. I got a tri-spoke wheel in there that I actually had my dad take, he put it in a press. He did like a press brake, because the problem with the Rangers of this era, this 88 era, they had a zero offset wheel, so it was basically flat. So all the aftermarket wheels you would buy, like your Grant Racing wheels, which that's a 12-inch Grant Racing wheel, or 12 or 13, I forget. I originally, in my old truck, I used to have one of them little small ones, not the little tiny ones, but it was like the ones you go to O'Reilly's and used to have on the shelves. I had one of those in my old pickup, and they don't have power steering, these trucks. That was not an option on them. The V6 ones got them, but most four-cylinders didn't have it. This truck is a manual steering truck, also manual brakes, which is really weird because my 83 had power brakes. This truck does not. And maybe because it was a 2-liter thing and it's a short box versus a long box, maybe they thought it was more safer to have power brakes on a long box truck with the 2.3. I don't know. To me, that doesn't make any sense. Power brakes should just be in everything. It's just way better. Yes, you have to plan your stops in this truck. You can lock the brakes up, but you need to pump the brakes before you get real brakes out of it. I mean, it's not that you have bad brakes. It's just it doesn't stop as fast. You don't have the assist like you do with power brakes. Anyway, jumping around quite a bit. Anyway, I was talking about the wheels. These have Milestar tires on it. Not affiliated, not sponsored, none of that stuff. I just picked them out because on the rear, I'll show you here in a second. Currently running a 185/65/15 on the front. Like I said, they're a 6-inch wide by 15 wheel on the front. Offsets, I don't remember off the top of my head, but they're kind of a standard offset. I was trying to find something that will fit underneath the fenders on the back, which you'll see right here in a second why I went with this size. The edge of the bed, if you see right here, see how the tire sticks out past the fender? You gotta watch it. If you put a bunch of weight in here, this box side will just chew into this tire, which this truck doesn't see weight. I don't put stuff in there. I have hauled some stuff. I put a pallet in the back of this once, and actually the tires for this truck were in the back of this, and then I think maybe tires from my other pickup I had at one time, I think I put in the back of this because I needed to take them off and bring them into the shop and mount them. Anyway, the rear tires on this, they're a Milestar Street Steel tire, which these are a raised white letter tire. And if you saw on the front the remnants of what was originally white tire paint, I tried to paint it so it looked cool, but over the years this stuff kind of fades off and doesn't look very good. I could touch it up, but it's just one of those, I just don't care. And maybe I should, but it is what it is. Anyway, the rear tires on this, these are basically the same type of wheels as they are on the front, but they are an 8-inch wide by 15 tire, and they are I'll give you the size here, a 225/70/15 on the rear. So yes, there is a bit of difference in height. So these are About the biggest size of tires I wanted to run on this truck. I wanted to give it that old like fat look like a lot of your old muscle cars used to have in the 70s and 80s. That was the look I was going for. Since this truck was made in the 80s, I felt it was appropriate. Plus, I tried to do the round headlights to kind of tie it all together. This is the era I was going for, and even to tie it together a little bit more. We go, I went with all the chrome. I didn't black it out. I know that's the thing. Everybody loves blacking stuff out now. I personally like chrome stuff, but black has its place, but I don't like it all over the truck. Like I said, these are black because that's what the original bumper. This truck originally had black bumpers on it, a black grill, and black trim around the windshield. It did have chrome mirrors on it, and did have chrome door handles, but some reason I don't know if it was factory to the truck or if somebody put them on there later on, but I went back to, this is basically what my 83 had, was a bumper like this. It's not a perfect bumper, but I wasn't going to spend, they're expensive bumpers for the back of these, like $400 or more. To me, that's expensive. I'm not putting that much money into a bumper. There are some dings in it, or it got hit at one point, so it probably rolled into something. It's a 5-speed manual, so yeah, you got to watch that when you're driving it. Anyways, yeah, kind of going with the chrome theme, which I know this isn't chrome. This is stainless steel. This is the side kick exhaust. It's a 3-inch pipe, goes all the way up to the header, and it's got 2 shorty glass packs on it. The reason I went with shorty ones is because I don't have, you don't have a whole lot of room to work, and I went with shorty ones just because the length worked out. And originally I had on my old pickup, it was a long box. I had a regular length, I don't know what you want to call them, probably a 24-inch long glass pack, something like that. They're like